Are you thinking about buying a smartwatch for fitness, but aren't sure which brand or model to get? Apple, Fitbit, and Garmin watches are very different watches for very different people. Which one is right for you, and is the Apple Watch really anybody's best choice for fitness? That coming up next. I did something I've been meaning to do for a while, which is buy this. The new Apple Watch SE, at least new for me. And the reason I bought it is I was looking for a good watch to replace my old Fitbit Blaze, which has been a fantastic watch for me, but I've had this for quite a long time now, probably 7 years at least. And I thought I would upgrade to something that had more features and would just give me more bang for the buck, something new. So Apple Watch SE it is. Of course, I expected this watch to be a big step up from my old 7-year-old Fitbit Blaze, but I was quite surprised to find out that in many ways it isn't. So let me give you a couple examples of what I mean by that. So first off, there's the heart rate. So on my old Fitbit Blaze, whenever you turn your wrist, it automatically gives you your heart rate, and it's always on and always active. In comparison, on the Apple Watch, you just get this heart, and you actually have to press the heart. Yep, go back here. You actually have to press the heart and have it go into measuring mode before you actually get the heart rate reading. Now, you can change this. When you're in activity mode and actually doing an activity, it will do continuous heart rate monitoring. But otherwise, you have to wait until you get the heart rate monitor, which is something I wasn't quite used to. Another really bizarre thing I found on the Apple Watch is the compass. So as you can see here, the compass is white pointing north, which is unusual because usually on a compass, red points north. Now, if I press that button, there's the compass. Now, red is facing north, like it normally is. So red facing north, and then white facing north, and then on another screen where I have the compass, red's facing north again. So if you're out on the trail, this could be really confusing. If you're orienteering out in the middle of nowhere, making one mistake like that, mistaking north from south, could put you really off track. It's a really bizarre thing. Now, I did figure it out, which is, strangely, on the Apple Watch, you can change the color of the font for the numbers. And if you change it to color font or white, red is north, like it normally should be. But if you change it to any color, red becomes south. It's very bizarre. I don't know why Apple would have done that, but it's strange and potentially dangerous if you're out in the middle of nowhere using this for orienteering. Another thing the old Fitbit has that the Apple Watch doesn't is automatic start for exercising. So on the Fitbit, if you start exercising for, let's say, going for a bike ride for 5 minutes, it will automatically turn on and start measuring your fitness. On the Apple Watch, on the other hand, it doesn't do that. On the Apple Watch, you can start an activity, and if you start doing an activity and you haven't started it automatically, it will give you a notice to start it. And at that point, when you hit start, it will actually backtrack and give you credit for the time until you had hit the start button. So it's not too bad, but it's just strange that they didn't make it an automatic start like it is on other fitness devices. It's not too bad, actually. The fact that it backtracks is okay, but it's just not quite as good as I expected. Another thing that's better on my old Fitbit is the sleep stages. On the Apple Watch, on the sleep app, you do get your sleep readouts, but on the old Fitbit, it goes into sleep stages, REM sleep, deep sleep, and gives you a really good idea of how your sleep was and what it looked like. That level of detail isn't in the Apple Watch. Another thing that isn't in the Apple Watch that really surprised me was calorie count. There's no calorie counter and no macronutrient breakdown unless you use a third-party app. So that feature comes standard with the Fitbit app, but it only comes with a third-party app in Apple. Another thing that the Apple Watch doesn't have on its app is heart rate zones. So on the Fitbit, again, in the Fitbit app, it gives you a breakdown of your exercise and how long you spent in each zone for your heart rate. The Apple Watch, again, doesn't have that unless you download a third-party app. Now for me, the real disappointment in the Apple Watch was offline apps. I had heard that Google Maps is back on the watch, and I thought that's great because I often use Google's offline maps for hiking and places where there's no cell phone reception or Wi-Fi. And I thought I would be able to use this for navigation as well. However, even though this phone has GPS, even though it has Google Maps, it just doesn't work that way. The only time Google Maps works on the Apple Watch is if you have Google Maps on your phone and set it to navigation mode. And even then, it only works by giving directions like turn left, turn right, go straight. You can't just pull up a map on the Apple Watch and just, look at your location and where you are and use that to navigate. It doesn't exist. And if you use Apple's instead, it doesn't make any difference because you need Wi-Fi or cell phone reception in order to make that work. And again, it has to be paired with your phone, no offline maps. So for hiking, once again, you have to use a third-party app to make this work. Now, of course, the new Apple Watch has a lot of features that the Fitbit Blaze does not. It's got your email, your messaging, internet, calculator, and all these different functions that you can bring up on your phone. I've even got my Domino's Pizza app in here somewhere. So it has a lot of features like that. However, let's be honest. If you get a text message, it's convenient to look at it on the phone and see what it is, but it's not particularly convenient to reply to it. If you reply to it, you have to use letter-by-letter reply for messaging, or you have to speak your message into the Apple Watch, which isn't particularly convenient. So really, although it does have a lot of functions like that, most of these functions are simply more useful by using your phone. So overall, so far, I'm not nearly as impressed with this watch as I expected it to be. So for example, I do like the altimeter, that it's got a GPS altimeter that's on all the time. The compass is nice, but things like the heart rate aren't any better. You do get your weather reports, things like that. So it's got good features, sunrise, sunset there. I've got moon phase. It's got some nice features for hiking and for being outdoors. For camping, it's really nice to know how bright the moon will be on the night you're staying out. So it's got features like that, but I'm not impressed with the level of detail in some of the apps and some of the readings that you expect from a smartwatch. So certainly from a fitness perspective in particular, it seems to be a little bit lacking in features, a little bit bland. But having said that, I've only had this watch for 2 days. I haven't had a chance to use it all that much. So this weekend, I'll be taking a road trip with it, where I'll be navigating a lot on the highway. I'll be doing some hiking, quite a lot of hiking actually. And so by the end of that trip, I should have a pretty good idea on the features of this watch and if it's a keeper. So let's find out. Arriving at the hotel, the weather and the view were absolutely gorgeous. So we made plans for the following day to do a hike, very popular hike in the area called the Harrison Lake Grind, and then a little bit further off to a lake on top of the mountain. And from there we'd have an excellent view of this scenery from a high position, which should be beautiful. Now that hike takes us from lake level, which is about sea level, right to the top of the mountain, so should be a good workout for the watch to see how the altimeter works, as well as the fitness tracking. About 10 minutes after starting any activity with this watch, you'll get a ping notification on the wrist, and you'll see this notification to start recording your workout. The great thing about it is when you hit the start button, or the activate button, it goes back 10 or 5 minutes or whatever it is to the point when the watch feels that you started the workout and starts it from the beginning. This I felt was a great improvement over the Fitbit, which only starts recording at the moment you've been doing your workout for say 10 minutes and doesn't go back and start from the beginning. It records from that 10-minute point. The hike was beautiful, the weather was great, everything looked really green and lush, so it was a perfect day for hiking. And everything was going great until I got this ping notice on my watch and looked down, and it asked me, "Finished your workout?" ? I hadn't. I was hiking up the side of a mountain at the time with my heart rate probably at 120, so I was really surprised that the watch was asking me. It should recognize that I was still going. But that's okay, I just dismissed it. And then about 6 minutes later, ping, "Have you finished your workout?" "No, I have not. I'm climbing up the side of a mountain." 3 minutes later, ping, again. 3 minutes after that, ping. It was getting ridiculous. I decided that as soon as I got back to the hotel, I would shut this exercise auto recognition feature off, but for the moment I had to live with it. 10 minutes later, ping, and it just kept doing that all day. It was incredibly annoying. Later on, I did have better success with this for things like walking and cycling. I don't know, maybe it's just because when you're hiking, you're going vertical and it doesn't recognize that, but it certainly didn't work for hiking. If you've got some experience with this, let me know in the comments what worked for you and what didn't, what activities didn't, and the accuracy of it, because it certainly didn't work for hiking. So upon reaching the first viewpoint, we got those spectacular views I was mentioning earlier of the lake and the valley and the snow-crusted mountains in the distance. Really fantastic. And so I took this opportunity to take a few minutes to sit down and make myself a mocha and have a snack before moving on for the rest of the hike. And it's at this point I should mention what I noticed about the altimeter, as you will. So the first thing is the topographic map showed the top of this mountain at this point as 680 meters. So remember that number, 680 meters. One screen on the watch still showed that I had climbed a total vertical elevation of zero gain, despite the fact that I just climbed from sea level to the top of a mountain. And another screen showed the elevation as 584 meters, which is about 100 meters short of what the actual elevation was at that point. And then on the summary screen, after the end of the hike, the summary screen showed the maximum elevation as 631 meters. So to summarize, one screen showed zero gain in elevation, another screen showed 584 meters, the summary screen showed 631, and the actual was 680. So really off. I don't know what's going on with the altimeter. If it doesn't use GPS, maybe it just goes by air pressure, but even then it doesn't explain why all the screens are different. It just wasn't effective, and I don't know why. After getting slightly lost for a little bit, I made it back to the beginning and checked the stats, and according to the watch, I had burned 1,176 calories on this hike with an average heart rate of 118 beats per minute and a range of 72 to 146. And on the app, it gave the additional information of the hike being 5 hours and 25 minutes long, with a pace of 24 minutes per kilometer for the climb. So all very useful information, except the altimeter was way off. Another thing I wanted to try on the Apple Watch is the navigation. Initially, I was pretty disappointed that you can't download Google Maps to the watch and use it for offline navigation. And also the navigation doesn't work without the phone or without Wi-Fi. So that was a big disappointment. But you can still get turn-by-turn navigational information by using a different app without a subscription. So I decided to give that a try. I picked the simplest, most obvious trail I could find so that when I was making the turns, I knew exactly where the turn was supposed to be, and it was really obvious. So as you can see here, I'm supposed to make this turn in 20 meters, and then coming up soon, there's the turn I'm supposed to make. Now it says 10 meters, and there's the turn. Now watch what happens if I walk just past it. If I walk just past it, instead of telling me to turn around, it reroutes me to the nearest turn it thinks is available. So if you miss your turn, even by a couple feet, it could potentially reroute you, a long way off in order to make another turn. I thought that was very odd. Now here's another example. It's saying I'm supposed to turn left here in 720 meters. That's about 720 yards. And as you can see, there is no option to go straight. There's no trail there. So the watch is telling me to go straight and then turn left. And clearly that's just not correct. I don't know what to say. Now here's another example. Here I'm supposed to turn a slight left in 890 meters. And again, slight left is not an option. I can go left or right. There is no straight and slight left. So again, way off. And if you look at the Gaia GPS map on my phone, it was pretty obvious I was supposed to turn right. Now here's one final example. In this case, the watch told me that I'd gone the wrong way in to make a U-turn. But then when I made a U-turn and kept walking, it told me I was going the wrong way and I need to make a U-turn. And then when I made that U-turn and started walking back the same way, it told me to make a U-turn again, and it just kept having me walk in circles until I pulled out my phone, looked at my map, and saw that I just needed to go straight about 30 meters and then take a right. Now I could go on, but by now I think you've got the idea. Out of the box, the Apple Watch just isn't very good for fitness and activity tracking. Everything it can do, other watches and apps do better, from fitness tracking to exercise auto recognition and everything in between. Now, to be fair, I should point out that the Apple Watch can have the same functionality as the Fitbit and Garmin, with the same level of detail, but you need to download several apps to do it, some of which require subscriptions. For GPS and maps, you can download something like Work Outdoors, Gaia, or AllTrails. Work Outdoors is particularly fantastic because it shows a detailed map with a direction arrow instead of a dot, and has heart rate included. But it does require paying a regular subscription fee to get this. You can also download a separate heart rate zone app, a calorie tracker, and a sleep app. Then you'll have the same functionality or better than a Fitbit or Garmin, but you'll still have a battery life of 1 to 2 days instead of up to a week or more, an auto tracker that won't work as well, at least for hiking and some indoor sports, a questionable altimeter, and a watch that just isn't as tough. So why do people adore the Apple Watch? Because many people certainly do. It has a 4.8 out of 5-star rating on Amazon. Well, first, it's absolutely the best as a communications watch. Not only can it do everything the other watches do, like receive text messages, provide calendar notices, and play podcasts, but it also does things they don't do or does them better. You can use WhatsApp and Spotify, receive emails and text messages with attachments, receive phone calls, and more. It's a computer on your wrist, which is why the battery life is awful, but also why it has so many features. The other reason people love it, though some may not as willingly admit it, is because for many people an Apple Watch is a wealth and fashion statement. It certainly has more cachet than either a Fitbit or Garmin, and this is reflected in the fact that there are literally hundreds, if not thousands of ways to dress it up and customize it. Some people own dozens of watch bands and swap out the bands and change the faces daily. Apple purposefully has quick-release buttons on the back to make changing the bands easy. The perfect way to compare Apple Watch, Fitbit, and Garmin for fitness, and who they're marketed to, is to take a look at the measurements and the challenges. When I started wearing Apple, I was surprised that when I got up to get a drink of water, my watch dinged and I got a message that said, "You did it! You earned another hour toward your stand goal." I thought, really? I have a stand goal? Why would I have a goal for standing up? At the end of the week, I got a medal. You also get measured for calories burned and exercise minutes, but the watch usually counts my slow morning walk to work as exercise minutes. I can walk around for a couple of hours doing shopping and hit all my targets. In comparison, Fitbit expects more from its users. Fitbit's main measure is calories, but it also has an obsession with steps and floors. Many of the challenges are based on some kind of taking steps goal or number of floors climbed goal. I went hiking and got a badge for climbing 300 floors. When you blow away your goals for the day, the goals change color and give you a fireworks display. And then there's Garmin. Garmin sets the bar higher. Garmin also measures steps, floors, and calories burned, but in addition it measures intensity minutes, how many minutes of intense exercise you do based on heart rate or cadence. The fitness challenges tend to be things like record 50 miles of running activities this month, or record 506 miles of cycling activities this month. I think it's fair to say that if you randomly chose 100 Apple Watch users and put them in a fitness competition against 100 Garmin Watch users, the Apple Watch users would get crushed. My Garmin Instinct meets military specifications for durability and has push buttons instead of a touchscreen, so it can be used in heavy rain and snow. That tells you what it's all about. Now, since I'm talking about Garmin, let me take a moment to explain how the Garmin differs from the Fitbit. Well, first on the main display you have heart rate with the low and high and the current rate, which is always on, like on a Fitbit. You've also got body battery. What this is it charges during sleep and during meditation, and then during times of stress or during exercise, it drains the battery. And it's a very useful measure. Some days I'll think, geez, I'm feeling a bit tired unusually right now, and I'll look at the body battery and the stress level, and I'll see, oh, that's why. It's been quite a stressful day. Sometimes I don't even recognize it until I see it. And then there's intensity minutes. So unlike just regular exercise, it's exercise with intensity. And you've got steps as well, which is the very common measure on the Fitbit and Apple, as well as floors, which is a Fitbit favorite. And then finally, calories in and out. This is the only measure that requires a third-party app. For the heart rate, I can zoom in to get more detail, including the graph of the heart rate during the exercise, and I can superimpose it on top of pace or elevation. So if I'm running, my heart rate compared to the pace, or if I'm hiking, the heart rate compared to the elevation and how much climb or descent I was doing. And of course, it also breaks it down into the different heart rate zones, so you can see how much time you spent in each zone and how hard or how lightly you were pushing yourself. And that stands in stark contrast to the Apple Watch, where with the basic apps that come with it, you get the very minimum of heart rate information and really no type of breakdown whatsoever. As a summary of the Apple Watch in general, here are some comments from Amazon that I think tell the full story when viewed together. First comment, "It's doing a great job at getting me off my booty. I love closing my fitness rings. Makes it feel like a game that I must win." Minimal expectations, but gets you off your butt. The gold is more of an iPhone rose gold color, but it is very pretty and matches well with the band. Fashion accessory. Loving the convenience of answering and making a phone call, responding to a text, control my music and take a photo, that's as a remote control, all from my wrist. Communications device. And finally, the only knock I can give it would be the battery life. I wish it could last a little longer. Yes, because it's a computer, the battery life is weak. Well, that's my review of the Apple Watch for fitness compared to Fitbit and Garmin. Did you think it was fair? Is there some amazing app or use for the Apple Watch that I missed? Let me know in the comments. As usual, I've provided links in the description to the watches and accessories on Amazon that I personally like, so if you'd like to support this channel, please use those links. Otherwise, have a fantastic day, and I will see you in the next video.